Hello there. Before we get started on today's episode, I'd like to ask a short favor. If you're interested in either of the two books that I have written and am about to release, head on over to my website at theanxioustruth.com/books. There you can learn about both books, one of which is free, and you can get on my mailing list to be notified when each book is released and how you can get it. I would really appreciate that. Okay, let's get rolling. Welcome to That Anxiety Guy, Episode 14, The Long and Winding Road. Hey everybody, Drew here, ThatAnxietyGuy.com. As always, thanks for stopping by to listen. I do appreciate it. Something different today. I'm actually recording the podcast outside in my backyard because it's April and it's spring and it's warm and the sun is out. And this is a whole lot of fun. So I'm sitting on my deck and hopefully we'll have no barking dogs or anything like that. But if we do get that, that is exactly why. So I want to let you know ahead of time. Today we're going to talk about the topic of the path of recovery from anxiety disorders and how it's not generally almost never a straight line. In fact, as I mentioned in the title of the episode, it can be quite the long and winding road. It can be unpredictable, and there's going to be good days and bad days and ups and downs, and there are going to be setbacks along the way. Knowing to expect this and how to objectively and accurately judge your progress can actually make the process a bit easier on us, and in some cases can help you from becoming so discouraged that you actually give up. So this is definitely something worth talking about. Now, the overriding concept here in the entire episode is the idea that recovery is not linear. So let's think of it this way. Even the greatest athletes in the world that dominate their sport don't turn in dominant performances game after game. Everybody has an off day. So even the world's most successful business people have failed many times more than once. Some have actually gone bankrupt at times. So progress is not always going to be rock steady and in a forward direction every single minute of every single day. That's just not how human beings are wired. We don't operate like that. That would be almost perfection, and that's impossible. So you have to understand that this is not a linear process. So the thing to remember, though, is that sometimes you're going to feel like you're stuck or going backwards, but as long as you're putting in the work and following the right path, just stay with it, because when you look at it the right way, you'll see that you're really not going backwards at all. And this is important to understand, that the smaller the time interval you're looking at, the more likely you are to be discouraged. So for instance, if you're worried and obsessing over the fact that you felt great when you got out of bed, but you feel terrible by lunchtime, that's not going to be terribly useful in the long run. You have to recognize that you have to zoom way out to see steady progress. So try to stay focused on the big picture. So if in any given day, maybe you're having ups and downs, or you started with a great day and you're ending with a not so great day, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going backwards. It might mean it for those few hours of that day, but what you really care about is the overall trend when you zoom way out and look at the long term. So again, remember that don't obsess over what's happening at any given moment or in any given day. Your progress is actually measured and observable over much longer time periods of weeks and months and even possibly years. The other thing that we need to touch upon, and this is the thing that I think most people fall down on, aside from the expectations, most people have just the wrong idea about this, and that is that panic and anxiety are absolutely going to be part of the deal. This is huge. If you're going to go about the business of challenging your fears and facing them and learning not to be afraid of how you feel, then you will experience panic and anxiety along the way. In fact, this has to happen. It's supposed to happen. If you are afraid to fly, or you are afraid of dogs, the only way you're going to overcome those fears is to actually get on an aircraft and take a flight, or to actually get up close to a dog and pet the dog and play with the dog. You have to actually confront and have intimate contact with the thing that you fear. And the same applies to losing your fear of panic and anxiety. You have to experience it for this to happen. So if you're hoping that you're going to embark on the course of recovery and you're going to start doing whatever your chosen therapy or course of action is going to be, and that you're going to do it to try and avoid ever feeling anxiety or panic, or you don't want that to ever happen, then you actually are starting off on the wrong foot. You can't expect that, or else you're going to be disappointed. You have to accept that experiencing panic and anxiety are not only going to be part of the deal, because that's just the way it works, it's a necessary part of the process. That's how you make progress. The third point that I really want to make here is that a panic attack is not actually a setback. And I see this all the time. I see it almost on a daily basis, where somebody will say, oh, I've been doing so great. I've been out every day for the last week and a half or a couple of weeks. I went to whatever, my grandson's birthday party, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, I had an extreme panic attack. And I thought I was doing so great, but I guess I'm not. But that's such a common issue, and that thinking is actually wrong, and it's really counterproductive. So having a panic attack or experiencing extreme anxiety is not a setback in any way. Since we already know that panic and anxiety are going to be part of the journey forward, we know that that's going to happen, and we actually know that it's a necessary part of things. So experiencing panic and anxiety is actually a positive thing along your journey, because you need that practice in order to lose the fear. But so many people are still trying to engineer a panic or an anxiety-free existence that this kind of gets twisted. And when panic and anxiety does come about, especially after being absent for a while, there tends to be an awful lot of discouragement and harsh judgment and negative self-judgment, and this overriding feeling that somehow having a panic attack is inherently bad and means that there's a giant setback. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Really, what you're working on, and a setback is actually measured by how you react to that panic. So if you're out and you're doing the work and you're doing your exposure and you're working on your relaxation techniques and you experience a panic attack after maybe not having one for a week or two, the measure of success is not the panic attack itself, but it's how you react. So you know that you're moving forward if your reaction to that panic is different than it may have been a week or two ago. So long as you're not reverting back to your avoidance or escape rituals or fighting it or bracing it or immediately running back home or calling your safe person, then that's not a setback at all. As a matter of fact, you may, when you stop and look at how you handled that latest panic attack, you may discover, wow, I really did do that differently. And the panic attack is not the setback. It's actually a measure of progress in certain areas. So again, very important, keep this in mind. Having panic or anxiety along the way is to be expected. It's a necessary part of it. And a panic attack is not a setback. Feeling badly is not a setback. It's how you react to that feeling where we judge our progress, whether forward or backward. That's a really important point. It's very, very, very important. The next thing I want to touch on is the need to be realistic in your goals. So if, for instance, you are suffering from agoraphobia and you have been housebound for a year, deciding that you're fed up and you don't want to live like this anymore and you will attend your cousin's wedding, but that wedding is 100 miles from home and it's only in 4 days, that's probably not a realistic goal, and you're really setting yourself up for failure, and you're setting yourself up for being even more discouraged and angry with yourself that way. So unfortunately, the way our brains are wired, you can learn a fear or a phobia almost instantaneously. However, unlearning that fear takes hard work and it takes time, right? So that doesn't happen overnight, and it's important to realize that. Your progress is going to come in small doses. If you're doing the work, progress is going to come in very small doses on an almost daily basis. But those tiny little steps, those minuscule bits of progress, do add up to giant leaps when you spread them over a long period of time. So if you've been housebound for a year and you have that family wedding to go to, and it is 100 miles from home, and it seems on Monday it seems impossible that you'd ever get there, but on Tuesday you're all fired up and angry with yourself and you decide you're going to do it no matter what, that's great. But understand that you may have at least a month or two before you're able to actually do that. And you got to get to work right now. So it's a great thing to use those things to get you all fired up and motivate some forward progress. But keep your goals realistic and understand that maybe you should tackle a trip to the local supermarket first before trying to go to a wedding 100 miles away. The next thing that I want to touch on, and I say this all the time because this applies in so many areas when we're dealing with things like panic disorder and agoraphobia, is that you have to be patient and you have to be persistent. Right? So frustrating and discouragement along the way on the path of recovery is to be expected because that's just kind of what we do. But they really are counterproductive. when you feel this way, when you have a day where maybe you think it's not going so well, you're not going fast enough, you're going backwards, you're having setbacks, acknowledge how you feel because it's valid and we all have those feelings. Understand that it's normal. Then do your best to try to find some patience, right? Find some patience. Allow yourself the time you need to make more progress. So don't judge yourself harshly for going too slow. Right? That shouldn't be a thing. All right. Remember that we need time and you need patience here. So things don't happen necessarily that quickly. Once you get the ball rolling, they may happen more quickly than you thought they would. Back in your worst days when you thought some of the things to be impossible, your progress will be faster than you would have thought back then. But progress can still be somewhat slow. So find some patience and allow yourself the time that you need to make that progress. All right. So while you shouldn't judge yourself harshly for going too slow or taking too long to recover, at the same time, you have to be persistent and tenacious. So long as you are doing that work every single day and you are tenacious at it and that you're out there and doing the work no matter how you feel, then you'll never have to worry if you're working hard enough or if you're going too slow. You're doing just fine. That's what you should be doing. So long as you stick with it, so long as you are being persistent and tenacious in your work, and you're not making excuses to skip things based on how you feel, then when you start to feel discouraged and you feel badly about yourself, you will at least know that, you know what, I'm doing the work. And maybe today isn't the greatest day ever, but I am doing the work. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and in the end, it's going to matter. So be patient with yourself, but along with patience is the need to be persistent and tenacious. And the last point that I want to make, and this is a big one, it isn't necessarily directly related to the act of recovering or overcoming things like panic disorder or agoraphobia, but we often overlook it. And this is true for everybody, no matter their state, whether there's an anxiety disorder or not. Humans have a tendency to overlook this. You kind of have to appreciate the journey that we're on. And when you're struggling with an anxiety disorder, especially agoraphobia, because many times if you feel like you're missing out on life because you feel you can't go to certain events or any events, it's extremely common to view your life as being sort of on hold, quote unquote, on hold. And we hear the phrase, I can't wait to get my old life back all the time when we travel in circles with other people who are dealing with anxiety disorders. And that thing, getting my old life back, it's very common. It comes up all the time. And it's easy to see where this comes from. However, we really have to try hard to remember that life is happening every day. So nobody's life is actually on hold. Your life is happening while you're listening to this podcast right now, even if it's your 72nd day in a row of not leaving the house. You are living your life right now. You have to do your best to understand that and embrace it. You have to try your best to appreciate the positive things that you do have in your life, no matter how small they may be. And you need to also appreciate the fact that you are working to meet a challenge. You're rising to meet a challenge. So whether this is the very first day that you're starting to take forward steps, or you've been at it for weeks or months, or you're just thinking about it, the fact that you're even listening to me is a positive step forward. And you kind of have to appreciate that. The greatest stories in human history always involve overcoming some kind of adversity. That's just life, and we all encounter it regardless of our situation. So you should really take heart in the fact that this experience isn't going to bring the old you back. You're not going to get your old life back. The good news is you're going to get a new life. This is going to be a new you, a stronger you, a more confident you, and a version of you that's improved and better able to equip the challenges that are coming down the road for you, because life is a series of challenges. They may be different in nature. Some are harder than others, but just embarking on this journey is something that's going to make you a stronger and better version of yourself no matter what. So there is a silver lining in all of this, believe it or not. The journey you're on right now is just helping you to reveal it. It might take a little while. The steps may be slow, but you're going to find that silver lining at some point. So I really urge you to take a few minutes every day if you can, and just understand that you're on a journey. You are living your life right now. Your life is not on hold. Appreciate your life for what it is, and appreciate the effort that you're putting in and what it's going to mean to you down the road. You, your loved ones, your family, your friends. This is a good thing. There's positivity happening. Try to find it and try and appreciate it. It's really huge. It helps keep our spirits up, and it's something that many people, regardless of the situation, we tend to take things for granted and we forget that. So I'm going to try and leave you really with that. Do your best to appreciate the journey, because it is a journey and it's happening every day. And there's good things all around us when we just stop and look. All right. So do your best to try and grasp that and embrace it and find some joy in that. So we're just at about the 15-minute mark, which is where I like to end these up. So I'm just going to go through one more time. We're going to circle back through. Remember, recovery is not linear, right? It's not linear. There are ups and downs. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be good days and bad days. And really and truly, your success is viewed on a large scale over the span of weeks or months. So please don't obsess over what's happening on any given day or from hour to hour, because that's very counterproductive. Remember that experiencing panic and anxiety are going to be part of the process. In fact, they're a necessary and positive part of the process, right? Don't waste time trying to engineer a panic-free existence. That's not helping anybody. Remember that a panic attack or experiencing anxiety is not a setback in and of itself. It's how you react to those things that measure your progress. So experiencing panic is not how you measure progress. How you react to it, that's where progress comes. Remember to be realistic in your goals. Remember that you're going to need time to make progress. Remember that you need to be patient, but also persistent and tenacious. Be persistent and tenacious in putting in the work, and it'll be a lot easier to be patient with yourself and not second guess your course of action. You'll know that you're putting in the work, and when you have a bad day, it'll be a little bit easier to find some patience and understanding for yourself. And last was appreciate the journey. It is a journey. You're living your life right now. It's not on hold. You're not waiting for a life. You're living one right now. So take a few minutes every day to appreciate the positivity in your life, no matter how small it may be, and to appreciate the positive nature of the journey that you're on to overcome your anxiety issues and become a better and stronger version of yourself. So that's the podcast for today. I'm going to start wrapping it up here. As always, feedback, comments, questions, suggestions on future podcasts, always welcome. So hit my website, thatanxietyguy.com. You can comment on any podcast episode right there. You'll find links to my Facebook, my Twitter, my Google+. If you'd like to contact me there, that's fine too. And of course, if you are listening to iTunes, I'll always ask what I ask every week, and that is take a second, rate the podcast. Hopefully you think it's worth 4 or 5 stars. And maybe take another 60 seconds and write a quick review, because if you think you're getting something out of these episodes and you'd like to spread the word, that's the best way to do it on iTunes, which is really where most of our listeners come from. Okay, I'm wrapping it up here. I hope you're having as good a day where you are as I am here with some good spring weather. I will catch you guys in the next episode. And as I always say, keep moving forward, because every step forward is a good step forward, no matter how small it may be. Have a great day. Hey, what's up, guys? Drew here. In the 5 years that I've done the podcast, I've never had a sponsor. But now it's time for me to put in a little plug for the day job, the business that I own. And that business is Managed WordPress Hosting. So if you have a website and it runs WordPress, and you'd like WordPress hosting that makes WordPress faster, more secure, and way easier than you ever imagined it would be, then check out Helix. You can find us online at iamhelix.com. That's iamhelix.com. We took a long time to build Helix. I'm super proud of it. It works spectacularly. We take really good care of our customers, and I promise we would take really good care of you too. So if you're in the market for WordPress hosting that will blow your mind, check out Helix. I would appreciate the consideration. I thank you for coming by and listening, and I'll see you the next time.